All right, new podcast background, aka my bedroom. Dreamcatcher. I have learned and realized that if I'm gonna put this light on, get some mood lighting going here. No. So I have learned that if I put a lot of pressure on doing these podcasts to where it feels like, I don't know, an obligation, it makes me not want to do it. So I need to find a strategy to just feel comfortable expressing anywhere and everywhere. So I get in like the comfortability and habit of doing it. And we're going to see, this whole idea of being kind of broadcast, myself and my thoughts, in one hand. I think it's good to like educate and inform, and I'm very passionate about things. On the other hand, it's also the infiltration of more technology and more screen time, and brings us back to that question and topic of how much feels good to us, how much technology, how much involvement, 8 hours of time on a day on the screens. So, sometimes I experience dissonance of wanting to record things and also, wondering if that's contributing to the problem. At the end of the day, I am not here to proselytize or change anybody's mind. I'm not interested in changing anybody's mind, because at the end of the day, I just think that we all have different perspectives, and I think that's what makes us so beautiful. And like astrological terms, right? There's different things we have strengths in, and what makes it so beautiful is that we're all so different. And so it's okay to have different perspectives. I think it's valuable, but I also think that it's important that we feel safe to share them and to have dialogue, whether it be in person or on the computer. So those are just some reflections I've had as I've, it's been another week, and I want to feel like inspired to create, not necessarily obligated to where then it kind of takes the fun out of it. So just in reflecting some things that I think that I wanted to talk about on this one. We're not going to make it too long, but I thought I'd share a little bit about my experience understanding the nervous system. So I've, again, worked with people with severe mental illness and addiction and homelessness and all of that, all of which, elderly, all of which oftentimes there's a lot of nervous system dysregulation. And chronic stress is a killer, right? And it's important that we are mindful of our stress and our nervous system. So there's little ways that we can help to regulate our nervous system. And this is kind of one form of kind of biohacking, but I like it because it's kind of it's less like technological, even though I love technology, and there's definitely a time and place for it. To have a great time on ChatGPT with astrology and all of that, which I can talk about another time. Drop the comment birth chart in the comments if you want me to do a free astrology reading for you as it relates to your like love life and where you think you're going to meet that person. I've been having a lot of fun kind of playing with my knowledge of understanding and kind of bringing it into ChatGPT. And so it's been really helpful for me as it relates to love life and things like that. So go ahead and if you're curious, go ahead and do that, and I'll get that to you, and you can let me know if it resonates or not. Okay, so back to the nervous system. So chronic stress is really is a killer. It's important that we can be stuck in a sympathetic state of dominance, which is the fight or flight, right? The fight or flight is helpful for us when we actually do need to fight or flight. But chronic stress can lead us to kind of get stuck in that state and not and more easily and less of an ability to activate the parasympathetic state. So oftentimes, the sympathetic state has gotten a bad rap over the years, but again, it is important, but we can be sympathetic dominant, and that means that can lead to feelings of chronic stress. So, so there's a few things that we can do and I'm going to go ahead and mention 3 that we can kind of do on our own to help regulate our nervous system. These things can be done really quickly. They can be done in the middle of the day. They can be done at the work desk. But essentially what this practice is understanding how our nervous system feels, right? So the first thing, right, is about slowing the heart rate down. So there's ways we can slow our own heart rate down utilizing our breath. And so when we kind of get into this biohacking world and we understand that, if we notice we feel anxiety, we can regulate our breath as a way of slowing our heart rate down. So if we inhale and then exhale longer, like the exhale is longer, that will slow the heart. If the inhale is longer than the exhale, that can speed the heart up. So let's go ahead and do it. So we inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One more time. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Big breath in. And exhale it out. So you may have noticed by doing these long exhales, we can slow the rhythm of the heart, and kind of that pounding heart can sometimes be a physical symptom of anxiety. So in essence, right, and the flip side of that is if we want to increase our heart rate, we inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, right? Okay, so I'm not going to do the whole thing, but as you can see, that's something that you can experiment with. Someone's calling me. By utilizing the breath. So utilizing the breath to slow the heart and increase the heart. So that's one way that we can utilize our consciousness to impact our physical body, specifically our nervous system. That's one way. Way number 2, hand on the heart. So if we place our hand on our heart and just place it there for a second or two, and I want us for a moment to experiment with applying a little bit of gentle pressure over the heart. So we first maybe start by feeling the heart beating in our chest and developing mindfulness, noticing the heart beating underneath our hand, things like that. But if we apply a little bit of gentle pressure and maybe notice if in applying that gentle pressure, we can access a sensation of warmth, right? So sometimes just putting our hand over the heart, right? That's what people go, oh, right? We see that happens when people get nervous, they go, or a self-soothing technique that we can use to regulate our nervous system, to signal to the body that it's safe. So let's just experiment here, putting our hand over our heart, and then noticing if we can feel some warmth emanating from our heart. And really, really embodying that sensation and valuing that sensation, because that sensation of warmth that feels like safety, that is the language of the nervous system. So once we start identifying these sensations of having a calm nervous system, then we can start knowing, okay, when we're away from it, and then how to get back and things like that. But if we're in a chronic state of dysregulation, we might not even recognize that there is a different state we can be in. So that's number 2. So inhaling and exhaling, the long exhales, hand over the heart. And the last thing, it's kind of in building off this language of the nervous system. Our imagination is very wild, right? So with dreams, for example, sometimes the body doesn't know the difference, right? The body thinks it's actually happening. There have been some studies that have said, like, if we imagine something, the body feels like it's actually happening. That's how flashbacks happen with PTSD. The body doesn't know the difference, right? So the subconscious mind is speaking to the body, and it doesn't know the difference between if it's actually happening or if it's just going on in our mind. So again, we have to be really mindful about our subconscious thoughts and things like that. So there's something called polyvagal theory, which is kind of activating this vagus nerve. The vagus nerve, without getting too scientific, maybe that'll be for another day. The vagus nerve is what's responsible for having that variable heart. So the vagus nerve kind of regulates the heartbeat and the variability of the heartbeat. So if you have a very variable heart, which is indicative of a non-stressed heart, because it's variable, it's flexibly adaptive to the environment. It beats this time and that. It doesn't go steady and scared and stuck. It's flexibly responsive. That's indicative of a relaxed heart. The metronome is a stressed heart, right? So the vagus nerve, which comes from the neck down to the heart, connects the brain and the heart, is what's regulating the variability in the heartbeat. So polyvagal theory is kind of getting in touch with that vagus nerve, and there's many different strategies we can do with that. But kind of coming back to what we were talking about in our imagination, right? If we just for a second kind of clear our mind with a big breath in, exhale it out, long exhale, lowers the heart rate, hand over the heart, feeling the warmth. These are ways we're signaling to the body that it's safe. And that's all the nervous system wants, is to feel safe, right? That is, and with all the bombardment of everything we have going on, it's just we're in a constant state of dysregulation. So if we can kind of signal to the body to feel safe, it's like we're kind of taking care of ourselves. And yeah, I just feel like technology is kind of leading us into this chronic state of dysregulation. So, right, the imagination is very wild, and you can sometimes, you can imagine an ice cube and feel the ice, right? Feel the coldness of the ice. So there's this getting in touch with like this sense can be really helpful. So essentially, the way this works is we imagine what it feels like. So just kind of going into our imagination, kind of going through the file cabinets, whatever it is, we imagine a sensation of being just chilling. Like you're chilling on the couch, you're relaxing, maybe you're sitting back, blanket over you, totally chilling, right? Maybe your animal's nearby, maybe you're petting your cat, whatever. Like in our mind's eye, can we imagine that feeling? So we imagine it, and then can we actually feel it? The coziness, the warmth, the relaxation, right? So we're using our mind to imagine the sensation, and because the brain doesn't really know the difference, you're signaling that sense of safety to your body. And what I love about this is like so you can imagine warmth, coziness on the couch, chilling, relaxing, and you can kind of, if you can kind of let your, and this is why mindfulness is valuable, meditation, right? Because it allows you to harness that ability to imagine, and kind of strengthens your focus and ability to kind of sustain that imagination where you're okay on the couch relaxing, and then noticing as you're visualizing that in your mind, can you really feel the physical sensations that feels like, right? Safety, warmth. And when we start building that languaging, that is in fact what a calm nervous system feels like, we can hack in some ways our mind into calling upon that and then feeling the physical sensation of calm like that. So if we're on a crowded bus and we're overwhelmed, or we're feeling like we have to have an uncomfortable conversation, whatever it is, right? We can kind of go into our imagination and imagine, right? Some people say your safe space, right? What's your, like, in your mind's eye, right? Why going, why having that safe place in your mind, right? That's a big thing in meditation. And the reason is like that creates this feeling in the body. And I want us to start kind of putting the dots together, that is what a calm nervous system feels like. And all the nervous system wants is to feel safe. So when we can call on that in our mind, we can feel the feelings of safety. It can almost be like a force field that we have around us if we're in overwhelming environments, overwhelming situations. Of course, we can't, there's times for other behaviors and actions and whatever it is, right, where we need to fight. And I mean, I'm all for that. But I like to see it almost as a superpower, that you can regulate your energy in that way. And it becomes like this safe bubble around you by just imagining chilling, cozy on the couch, or whatever it is for you, on the beach. Everything's cool, everything's chill, right? So just bringing that to our mind and seeing if we can feel it in our body, and then we try to hold it, right? So we can build that muscle and remembering of what that feels like. And in polyvagal therapy, the way this is done in therapy, the therapist will hold that place of safety in their own body. They'll feel the safety. And then their client, it helps their client. So our nervous systems speak to each other, and it's like, are you safe? You're safe. You can be calm with me. I'm going to be my safe calm, and you be your safe calm. And so you can signal to other people safety by holding that energy around you. So it can be felt on a subtle level, and that's what the whole polyvagal therapy is the therapist holding the space for the client so they can get into the safety, and then they can kind of go where it feels. And I'll do one last little exercise about this. So we want to put languaging to these sensations we're feeling. Right. So, there's, I might save this for another episode. We'll do another one where we can talk about the noting of these different nervous systems, because essentially there's three. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do it another time, but. Like, we'll see. So, okay, there's 3 states that the vagus nerve will be in, the vagus system, and I'm not like 100% know everything. So, I mean, sometimes but I know a bit about this. So like, there's different feelings in the body, right? So if there's like a certain kind of activation. If you imagine the feeling of being just like in your bed, just fuck the world. Covers over your head, checking out, over it, right? That's not really safety. That's kind of more like a, right? that is that's when your nervous system is hypoactive. You're shutting down. You're in the freeze response. You're like, right? So can we imagine that in our mind? What does that feel like? If we were to put a word, what would that be? It could be like cold, or over it, or shut down, right? So we start languaging. Okay, that's one feeling. We're like, and that's one language of the nervous system. It's just like the shutdown one. The other one is the hyper. When it's hyper aroused, the hyper arousal state, that's when everything is like, we're really alert. We're feeling like overwhelmed. We can't really handle things. Everything feels like too much, and our heart may be racing, and we might be really triggered easily, right? So that has its own energy, and we can kind of call on that in our mind and then feel it in our bodies. So there's the state. There's the overwhelmed hyper arousal state, right? And that's the nervous system that's like freaking out a little bit. It's almost like the depression kind and the anxiety kind, feels like. But these are just my thoughts. And then there's the regulated. That's the cozy. That's the nervous system that feels safe. That's the calm. So we start putting a word like cold, but hot, like fire, and then like cool. And we can start kind of getting familiar with these three states that our nervous system can be in, and then recognize when we're in one over the other, and knowing that there's always a rope back to the regulated nervous state, even just from an instant of imagining it in your mind. And it's not as always easy, but like when we start seeing how quickly our mind can impact the physical feelings in our body, and we start building that instant connection, it can be really helpful. And I know things that can distract us and derail us and all this stuff. I totally get it. But I think it's a very helpful practice to notice these different states of the nervous system, and knowing that we can always return to that regulated, cool, cozy, calm. And then maybe doing our practices with elongated breath, hand over the heart. There's other ways we can talk about that can like stimulate that vagus nerve. And like, yeah. So those are the three states of the nervous system. And I hope that this has informed you and also given you kind of an experience as to how connected our mind and our body are, and how empowered we are, in a lot of ways. So thank you for listening, and until next time.
Thunder only happens when it's raining. Players only love you when they're playing. Women, they will come and they will go. When the rain washes you clean, your